No president has been stronger or more consistent on securing the border and removing criminal, illegal aliens from our communities, period. Strongest president ever. I have complete trust in President Trump that he will continue to enforce the rule of law, including each and every one of our immigration laws. So here's what we're going to do this afternoon. One, we're going to pass the legislation to finish funding more than 95% of the federal government at Trump spending levels, not Biden spending levels. And two, on the sliver that remains, we will keep the wheels of progress turning and let the president do what he does best, and that's negotiate a final deal on his signature issue. And I'll tell you what, if anyone can get this deal done that is going to crack down on illegal criminal aliens to protect our community, that's going to be President Donald J. Trump. So with that covered by our president, House Republicans are remaining focused on Americans' pocketbooks. Tax filing season began last week, and thanks to House Republicans, it's going to be easier than ever for working families to file their taxes. And why, you ask? Because Republicans expanded the standard deduction. To put it in plain English, the first $31,500 a family earns is tax-free. So the first $31,500 of every family, tax-free. And that does something else that's very important. It saves you time. About 210 million hours of paperwork gone. And that's 210 million hours and 210 million hours of time that the Americans people can spend on doing what they want to do, not filing their tax returns, burdensome tax returns. But here's what's really important that's missed. Every single Democrat voted against that $31,500 standard deduction. Every single Democrat voted against saving you time and making tax filing easier. And every single Democrat voted against saving you money. Remember, and I say this every time I'm up here, and one of these times it's going to get covered by y'all, every single Democrat voted to raise every single American's taxes. I'm going to say it again. Every single Democrat voted to raise your taxes. Please highlight that in your stories. I mean, I would think the Democrats would be proud to raise your taxes. They need to own that. Republicans are saving you time and saving you money. So this week, House Republicans are taking that message directly to the people. All across the country, we're reminding Americans exactly what happened and the impact that it will have on their families. Simply put, Republicans voted to make tax filing easier. Less bureaucracy. That's a good thing. Republicans voted to cut taxes for working families to keep more money in your pockets. Democrats, again, voted against that. Democrats want more bureaucracy, and Democrats want more of your hard-earned tax dollars. Democrats want to raise your taxes. Republicans want to lower costs and keep more money in your pocket, simply put. So now I will turn it over to our whip, who's done an amazing job, Mr. Emmer. You can raise this without squeak. Oh.
We need some Earl.
Is there funding for that in this bill?
Yeah, there's funding for that in the bill.
There. And now I can actually see what I've got. Once again, Republicans are making clear that we are the party of responsible governance. While Hakeem Jeffries foolishly urges his members to hold the American people hostage for the second time in less than 6 months, House Republicans are preparing to vote, as we've already done, to fund the government with individual appropriations bills. We passed these bills once before, and we will pass them again. As promised, Republicans in the House have reclaimed the power of the purse. 11 of 12 America First spending bills have passed through both the House and Senate, and now we're going to finish the job. That's what governing actually looks like. The American people deserve a functioning government, and House Republicans will deliver. Just like the Democrat government shutdown in October, Hakeem Jeffries and far-left Democrats want a political show. What's their angle this time? Obstructing President Trump's successful law and order agenda. Thankfully, Republicans thought ahead. In response to the devastating Biden border crisis, we proactively funded immigration and customs enforcement operations for the next 4 years in the One Big Beautiful Bill. The Democrats' attempts to stifle immigration enforcement and protect dangerous criminals, especially in my state, will prove to do nothing more than hurt law-abiding Americans. Some in their party actually know this, and we hope they will do the right thing. But even if not, law and order and responsible governance will prevail thanks to Republican leadership and despite obstructionist best efforts. We must get this government funding bills to President Trump's desk swiftly for the good of the American people. And with that, I turn it over to our leader, Steve Scalise.
Thank you, Whip. Well, look at that.
Is that a bird?
Whoa, it's like autopilot here. We've got a runaway podium. The Democrats have tried to shut this thing down, too. Once again, today, Republicans will reopen the government after Democrats shut it down. It's like we've seen this movie before, just a few weeks ago, that Democrats shut the government down for a record amount of time. And it took President Trump working with Republicans to finally get it reopened. And we're going to do that again today. And as the whip said, if some Democrats want to join us, we welcome them. But you've seen their leaders, like Hakeem Jeffries, say they want to keep the government shut down. And you'd ask why. Well, it's surely not over ICE, because we've already funded ICE in the One Big Beautiful Bill. But what does a no vote mean today? If Democrats like Hakeem Jeffries vote no today, they're voting against a 3.8% pay raise for our troops. That's in this package. What they're saying is they don't want our troops to even get paid, let alone get a pay raise. Because as it stands today, troops will not get their next paycheck if Hakeem Jeffries and Democrat leaders get their way. TSA agents who keep our airports operating so people can go see relatives flying around the country, that will shut down if Democrats vote no. FEMA is right now giving aid to a lot of states that have had massive damage from freezes. Democrats voting no shuts that down. And so Republicans will be the responsible party once again to keep the government open, to reopen this government and focus on the priorities that the voters elected Donald Trump and House and Senate Republicans to go implement. We will keep doing that work, even with a razor-thin margin. And I know, yes, sometimes the odds look lower than the Patriots winning the Super Bowl, but that's okay because we are here to do a job, and we're going to do that job. And whoever wants to join us on the Democrat side is free to. And look, we've been able to deliver a lot of bipartisan wins on a number of areas. If you look at holding people accountable, Chairman Comer's right now in the middle of a negotiation with the Clintons. Bill and Hillary Clinton were subpoenaed on a unanimous vote, Republicans and Democrats voting unanimously, which almost never happens in the Oversight Committee, and it did, to say they have to come forward and testify over the Epstein files. And they have been refusing and refusing for months, and finally at the midnight hour, when a contempt resolution is sitting over their heads, did they finally start talking, but they are not in full compliance. They have until noon today to fully comply. Otherwise, we will move contempt tomorrow against the Clintons. And again, that was a bipartisan vote out of committee to say that nobody's above the law. The Clintons have to comply with the subpoena like everybody else. I think it was Jamie Raskin who said, when you're subpoenaed by Congress, you have to show up. We'll see how he votes on that tomorrow if the Clintons fail to comply. But we're going to keep doing our job. We're also bringing an important bill on critical minerals to the floor to open up the vast resources of this country that have been shut down by the previous administration so that we don't have to be reliant on countries like China for the critical minerals that run so many of the products we use every single day. This Republican majority is going to keep delivering for the American people while we meet the basic obligations of government, like keeping the government open and reopening the government, which we'll do today. The man at the head of that effort is our great speaker, Mike Johnson.
Thank you, Steve. Well, all right, it's not on autopilot anymore.
You love doing that.
I do. Makes you feel taller. So grateful to be with you all, and I'm sorry we're in this situation again. It's like Groundhog Day in a way, the bad movie, where we come back to the same failed measures of the Democrats. It was just less than 3 months ago that they shut the government down for the longest period in history, 43 days. It was painful for so many Americans. Finally, a handful of them saw the light and helped us to get the government operating again. Republicans have demonstrated over and over that we are the grown-ups in the room. We are the ones that are governing. We are the ones that are funding the government. We are the ones that are providing the vital services and trying to make government work more efficiently and effectively for everyone. After that long historic shutdown that was so painful, appropriators in both parties got together. I tip my hat to Chairman Tom Cole of the House Republican chair of the Appropriations Committee and all of our committee members, the Cardinals, the subcommittee chairs, as we call them, all worked so well in their areas, and we got 12 separate appropriations bills passed through the House, and we had a triumphant press conference announcing that. We expected it to be on a glide path through the Senate, but of course the Democrats could not miss an opportunity to try to shut the government down again. That's what they're doing. Chuck Schumer and the Senate Democrats play games with government funding. Now, listen, the president obviously has reached out to state and local officials in the state of Minnesota. The events there have been tragic and unnecessary. He's made clear his desire to de-escalate the situation and to support an honest investigation of what's occurred there. We now have Tom Homan in charge of operations there, and he's an extraordinary leader. He has 40 years experience. He's highly decorated, has worked in Democrat and Republican administrations, and knows what he's doing. And there's more order being brought to the chaos. Now, I want to hasten to say that the chaos is because, in large measure, the local and state officials in Minnesota have not been participating with federal law enforcement operations, and they've created a dangerous situation there, and that is really a big part of the problem here. The White House and the Senate continued in good faith. They've agreed to separate the Homeland Security funding bill, and that's fine. So we have 2 weeks now to negotiate in good faith on both sides. The White House and Senate Democrats are going to engage in that, but the House Republicans are as well. We have to make sure we maintain the important parameters here. We can't go down the road of amnesty. You can't, in any way, lighten the enforcement requirement of federal immigration law. That's what the American people demand and deserve. We want dangerous illegal criminals to be sent out of the country, and they've been very successful at that. But these negotiations are going to go forward. If the Democrats do insist on keeping the government shut down, their pointless obstruction is going to have no effect on border security, which we have done, we've secured, or immigration enforcement. As has been noted by the leaders here this morning, we did fund ICE operations for a few years now. So what they'll be shutting down, don't lose this, what they'll be shutting down is FEMA operations as we're cleaning up from the winter storms. They'll be shutting down TSA, which is obviously necessary to keep the country moving through our airports. Coast Guard operations. I mean, so many important functions in the Department of Homeland Security is what will be adversely affected by these partisan games. Let's hope and pray that they don't do that. Let's hope that over the next 2 weeks we can negotiate and get this done. They say they want a real negotiation with President Trump and Republicans over immigration enforcement policy, and we are happy to have that debate. And I've said in a gaggle earlier this morning that what must be a part of that discussion is the participation of blue cities in federal immigration enforcement. You can't go to a sanctuary city and pretend like the law doesn't apply there. It does. And so we're going to be working through all that. Our chairwoman McClain talked about tax filing made easy. Last week marked the beginning of tax season, and millions of American families are working through that right now, and they're recognizing the amount of time and money spent complying with the federal tax code is going to be significantly reduced this year because of great Republican policy. Some of the things we did in the Working Families Tax Cuts, the big, beautiful bill, obviously we intended to cut taxes and to advance America First pro-growth policies, but we also sought to reduce the tax burden on Americans because we know that reforming the tax system isn't just about reducing rates, it's also about reducing the paperwork and the compliance burden on Americans. And you heard these stats, I'll repeat them, but our Working Families Tax Cut locked in the doubled standard deduction. It boosted it further to $31,500 for American families. That's a lot of money to hardworking folks. And again, we remind you Democrats voted against all of those great reforms. These successful reforms are going to save Americans 210 million hours per year in paperwork and $13 billion in compliance costs. That's real money to real people, and we're proud of that. Nobody likes paying taxes, okay? But Republicans have reduced the amount you owe and made your returns significantly easier to file. And so we're so grateful everyone's going to be able to take advantage of that. Last thing I just want to mention, and we'll take questions, I don't think the American people need any more evidence that Democrats want to tax the American people to death. Just check congress.gov. You can see all the bills they filed. But if they did, they should look no further than the Democrat-run D.C. Council's decision, listen to this, to decouple the local tax code from specific federal tax provisions. So in layman's terms, what they're trying to do here, any Democrat-run city is going to lead into this kind of nonsense, but they're preventing D.C. residents from experiencing the full benefits of the Working Families Tax Cuts bill. It's almost unimaginable that they would inflict that pain upon their own constituents, but that's what they're doing. D.C. is not alone in this obstruction. You've got strongholds, Democrat strongholds like New York and Colorado and Illinois, cities there, preventing their residents from enjoying these benefits. There's no way to spin it. Blue state governors intentionally harming their own residents just because the policies were offered by a Republican administration. I mean, that's what's happening. And it's just incredible to us. Is there any stronger evidence that Republicans are the party of affordability? Democrats say one thing and they do completely the opposite. And I'm so sad for you if you live in one of those jurisdictions. It's a real problem. If this act were to become local law, D.C. residents would be prevented from claiming no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the increased standard deduction, and so much more. And it's just wrong. There's an estimated 17,000 tipped workers here in the nation's capital, and the D.C. City Council is attempting to prevent them from enjoying this historic tax benefit. But House Republicans are going to work to fix it this week. We will advance Representative Gill's legislation to disapprove of that nonsense at the D.C. Council, because every American deserves to enjoy the benefits of the Republicans' historic tax cuts, even if you live in a Democrat stronghold. Have to take a couple questions. Yep, hang on. Bill, go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker Johnson. Are you confident you have the votes for this rule vote to pass, and do you expect any Republican no votes at all?
I don't, and this may be hard for some of y'all to believe, but I never doubted this. This was not my preferred route. I wanted to keep all 6 bills together. We worked so hard to pass them through the House, and I thought that should have been a package that sailed through the Senate, got to the president's desk, so we can fund government responsibly. We're spending less money year over year, and we're returning regular order around here, and that's a commitment I made when I became Speaker, and we're finally getting it done. But listen, the president agreed with Schumer that they would separate Homeland, and we'll do that, and we'll handle it. We're going to pass the rule today. It was never in doubt to me. The Republicans are going to do the responsible thing. I did talk to Hakeem Jeffries over the weekend, and he informed me that they would not be assisting in this endeavor. And I just think that's crazy. I mean, I just think that everybody needs to look at what's happening here. One party is moving forward, by the way, with the smallest margin in U.S. history. We now have a 1-vote margin. We are still sticking together. The Republican Party is sticking together because the stakes are so high. We're governing responsibly, and we're getting the job done. And Democrats, all they do every single day here is obstruct. And you can see the record for itself. They shut the government down for 43 days, the longest in history, just last fall, and they want to do it again. And it's just crazy. And I think the American people are going to think about this hard when they go to the voting box and to the ballot box in the fall, and we decide who keeps the majority in Congress. I think they're going to give it to the grown-ups. I think the Republicans will be able to continue and grow our majority to keep governing. Otherwise, what Democrats will give you is chaos. shutdowns. They'll shut down the federal government. They keep proving it to you over and over. So take them at their word. Jake.
Explain this. So Jeffries told you he wasn't going to help with this. Did Schumer represent something different to you in your conversations with the president? Because it seems that there's a disconnect here. It's hard to square.
It is hard to square, and it's not my place to get involved in their family squabble. But I mean, I think Hakeem has made very clear I think he was offended that Chuck Schumer presumed to speak for House Democrats. So you'll have to figure that out. The Democrats are in a family squabble over there, and it's not of our doing. Well, hold on, wait a minute. Schumer and Jeffries are from the same state. They're in the same delegation, and they seem to be having a little power struggle between the two of them. So look, I'm not trying to fuel that. You asked me the question. I don't know what's going on, but I can tell you the Republicans are united, and I'm proud of that. And this is the party that is getting the job done. So, yeah. Yes, ma'am. Second row. Yes, ma'am.
You're a constitutional lawyer. Can you detail the Fourth Amendment protections and rights someone has if an ICE agent approaches their home with an administrative warrant?
How much time do you have?
Yeah, right. Let me say this. Okay, so when ICE goes to execute a warrant, it's an administrative warrant, and it's issued by an immigration judge, and that is a sufficient legal authority to go and apprehend someone. They have violated the law. They crossed over our border illegally, and they're here and without any right to be here. Okay, that's what's happening now. The controversy has erupted where if someone is, they're going to be apprehended and they run behind a closed door and lock the door. I mean, what is ICE supposed to do? What is Immigration and Customs Enforcement supposed to do at that point? Oh, gee whiz, they locked the door. I mean, I guess we'll just go on to our, so there's some logic and reason that is to be applied here. Some have complained that the force has been excessive or what have you. I don't know. We're going to figure that out. It's part of the discussion over the next couple of weeks. I tell you what the Democrats want to do and what we cannot do, and that is they want to add an entirely new layer of warrant requirement. Okay, they want to have a judicial warrant on top of the immigration judge warrant, and we can't do that. Just think of it logically. Okay, you've got maybe 20 million illegals who came across the border just in the last 4 years when the Biden-Harris administration opened the border wide. Okay, imagine if we had to go through the process of getting a judicial warrant, an additional warrant to go and apprehend people who we know are here illegally. How much time would that take? We don't have enough judges. We don't have enough time. It would take decades probably to do that. The people who are advocating for that don't want any immigration enforcement. They do not want anybody to be sent out of the country who's here illegally, and that is blatantly what their cause is. So we've got to apply reason. We do have to apply the Constitution. We have to respect it. And those parameters need to be determined. But I can tell you that we are never going to go along with adding an entirely new layer of judicial warrants because it is unimplementable. It cannot be done, and it should not be done, and it's not necessary. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Hey.
Good morning. In 2023, I remember this. You chaired a hearing after the FBI had that raid on Mark Hope, the pro-life
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that was something that I think to this day Republicans say was a problem in the use of force by this government.
Yeah.
And my question now is, obviously we understand ICE's legitimate purpose, but we've seen guns drawn on Americans who have not necessarily protesters. We've seen people pulled out of their houses, to your point about the warrants. Do you think ICE needs to change, and CBP, any of their tactics, given what your concerns about civil liberties from the past?
I have great faith and trust in the leadership of Homeland Security and Tom Homan in particular, who's now in charge in Minnesota. He brings 40 years experience to this. He's very measured. We all believe that immigration policy ought to be balanced and strategic and smart, and it obviously needs to comply with the law. And I'm going to leave it to the experts to determine what that is. I think in the negotiation, I think we've got to remove the politics. We've got to look at what the Constitution says, what federal immigration law says, and if anybody wants to adjust immigration law, then that's why we're here in the legislative branch. But we need it. We need that approach. We need the temperature turned down. That's the president's words. And you need a steady hand at the wheel. I think Tom Homan is a great guy to do that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I just want to circle back on the judicial warrant situation. Can you just explain to me
we're talking about adding additional requirements. Either adding a judicial warrant is adding an additional requirement to this process. I mean, immigration advocacy groups for years have said, don't open the door for immigration agents without a signed warrant from a judge. ICE's own field manual says entering a home without a warrant is typically a violation of the Fourth Amendment. How is this raising requirement? Isn't this the MO for how things normally work?
No, I mean, look, the question is to the Democrats who are ringing the bells and saying that they're trying to make this one of their demands in this negotiation. That's what I'm told. Some of them have. And I'm saying that that is a road that we cannot and should not go down. And to your point, ICE, for many years, obviously, has had in the manuals that you follow the Fourth Amendment restrictions and you do this in a meaningful and thoughtful way. But we have an unprecedented level of opposition and pushback. I mean, when you have local and state officials informing their citizens that they should impede the immigration, customs, and enforcement operations, it creates a dangerous situation, and that's what's led to all this chaos. If the governors and the mayors in the blue cities and states would participate with federal law enforcement, we wouldn't even be having these conversations. I mean, you would have a much smoother process, I think. So, look, we're going to have all these discussions over the next couple of weeks. We will figure out a path through this, but we have to enforce our immigration law. The American people made that the #1 issue in the last election. The wide open border and the chaos that ensued because of it was the #1 issue. The president got to work. We used the existing law that was on the books, as we always said, as I said, for 4 years under the Biden administration could have happened, and we closed the border tight in just a couple of months. We've had almost zero illegals released into the country since President Trump took over. Strong leadership. And the next commitment was, as we said to the American people, we will get the dangerous criminal illegals out of the country. And that's what they've been doing. And for anybody to impede that, they are impeding the will of the American people. They are creating a more dangerous situation on our streets, and it has to stop. So stay tuned for the rest of this. We'll get into the details of it. I'm just telling you that adding a whole new layer of judicial warrant requirements is an unworkable proposal. And I think the people who are making that suggestion understand that. I don't think they want anyone to be apprehended and sent out of the country. So we have to see how it goes. Yeah, thanks.
Question about elections. Happy belated birthday.
Happy belated birthday.
Thanks.